Welcome back to Adventure Wheels. It's great to have you here and we're so pleased to be back. Coming up in this episode, we're talking to you all about our top 5 things to do from our trip to the Pyrenees last year. Here's what's coming up. We thought it'd be a good idea just to start to set the scene and tell you exactly where we stayed. And we based ourselves in the fairly central region of the Pyrenees at a campsite called Camping Pyrenees Natura. It was one of the most amazing locations we've ever camped, and we'd definitely go back there in a heartbeat. It was actually a choice between 2 campsites. The one we chose was right down in the valley, so we were surrounded by the mountains and we had the most magnificent views from our pitch. Which is why I think we chose that one over one which was slightly closer to the trunk road. We booked our trip through the Caravan and Motorhome Club's foreign travel service, and we started off in Calais before making our way through many hundreds of miles right down to the Pyrenees. And we'll pop a link in the description for this video for the exact campsite we stayed at, so if you're looking to go there yourselves then you can find it easily. Right, so without further ado, let's start off with number 1 on our list, and these aren't in any order by the way, it just happens to be that this is the thing we did first because the weather when we arrived was so good. So we went up to Col de Tourmalet. Now, Col de Tourmalet is a mountain pass. It's 2,115 metres above sea level, and the views from the top were absolutely spectacular. But what we will say was it wasn't just getting there, it was the journey, because you're driving through the most spectacular roads and working your way up the top. It just gets better and better. Once you're at the top, and I think they take the Tour de France up the Col de Tourmalet sometimes, so when we were at the top we truly appreciated how much effort it must be for these cyclists to go up the top, and there was actually quite a few of them up there whilst we were there. But it was also very windy, but thankfully it was a really clear day, so we did have some great views, and driving back along the way we came was just as much fun as the journey out there. There's also a Pic du Midi cable car, which is slightly further than what we went to, and it will take you a bit higher. We do believe it is wheelchair accessible. It just wasn't something that we wanted to do on this trip. We sort of prefer, we love the mountains, but also we quite like being down at slightly more ground level, so you can sort of appreciate them looking up as opposed to looking down. We find that slightly more spectacular, but Col de Tourmalet was absolutely brilliant. Number 2 on our list is Pont de España, if I pronounce that correctly. And similar to Col de Tourmalet, you do get the most spectacular drive as you're going there. It's basically the most enormous waterfall we've ever seen. The sound of it was truly incredible. And actually historically, Pont de España, the stone bridge over the river, used to actually be the route to Spain. Now I think the border's been moved a little bit further back behind the mountains, but there's a lot of history there as well. There is an accessible walk from the car park all the way up to the waterfall. You do miss out a little bit of the route. The walking route I think takes you a little bit closer to the river, but it's very steep and there was no chance we'd get your chair through at all, and I think there was steps as well. But the accessible route was actually it was amazing, wasn't it? It was really smooth and very nice when we got to the top. Quite an easy sort of gradual climb, but it was well worth it. There is a cable car at Pont de España. It does take you slightly further up the mountain, and I think there's a lake there as well. Unfortunately, the cable car wasn't accessible, but what we found was actually just being there next to the waterfall was more than enough for us. Just the roar it made as it came down the cliffs was just immense. But yeah, as I say, it was also the route that it did take us a little while to get there. I think it might have been about half an hour or an hour's drive from our campsite. But you don't get bored driving in the Pyrenees. You're driving through the most spectacular scenery everywhere you go. And the route up to Pont de España, there was hairpin bends, and you got glimpses of waterfalls and the most amazing valleys you've ever seen. So well worth a visit to Pont de España, and a thumbs up from an accessibility point of view as well, actually. Next up on our list, and then number 3 is Lords. Now, we weren't quite sure what to expect of Lords before we arrived. Karla mentioned, because she did a lot of the planning for this trip, that there was some sort of spa and sort of natural healing waters or something like that. But actually, I think between us, we didn't know much more than that. So when we arrived, it sort of blew our socks off. Lourdes is famous for its religious healing waters. It's one of the top pilgrimage locations in the world, and I think they get over 5 million visitors each year. And there's sort of, I think there's the history behind it was many years ago. You have to find out more information if you want to know the exact dates. But Saint Bernadette saw the Virgin Mary in a grotto, and then there was a water spring there, and there's some sort of history there about them being sort of religious healing waters. So of course these millions of visitors go there every year. There's taps everywhere where you can access the water, and I think on some busy days people queue up for absolutely hours to see this water and get to the taps. From our perspective, we were there purely as a sort of visitors, as tourists, just to find out a little bit more about it. There's sort of 3 parts to Lourdes, is what we found. Well, part 1 was the fact that some of it's just a normal French town. The second part of it was, of course, the sanctuaries Notre Dame de Lourdes, which was the cathedral, the church that they built on the grotto itself. And part 3, and this was a bit of a funny one, that there were so many gift shops, all selling sort of statues of religious characters, and these empty barrels of water that you could go and fill up. We personally felt that the gift shops they sort of detracted from the experience, because it took away the sort of the religious part of it, and why people there were sort of gift shops sort of cashing in on the fact that there is this location there. But actually, when you're in very close vicinity to the church, there's no gift shops or anything. It's just purely focused on that. So an incredible place to discover. We almost couldn't sum it up into words after we got back. But if that's the sort of thing that interests you, then definitely worth visiting. And that brings us on to number 4 on our list, which is Cirque de Gavarnie. Now, this has been on the UNESCO World Heritage List since 1997. I think the actual the rock formation formed over millions of years of erosion as the ice melted away. So you sort of walk into this almost like an amphitheatre of cliffs. It features the second highest waterfall in Europe at 422 meters. You can see it. We didn't go all the way up to it. I think you need several hours to do that. And once we got to a certain point, the tarmac path stopped, and it was a little bit rough for Karla in her chair. So we basically parked in the car park. Walked through the town, which was lovely in itself. There was quite a few gift shops, but they were sort of really nice gift shops that sold loads of souvenirs. I brought a hoodie there, and Karla brought the sunglasses she's wearing on her head now, and it was just a really nice atmosphere. So we took the tarmac path all the way up to over the bridge and to some of the cafes that were at the end, and that was just a brilliant spot to admire the view. We did also, because there's so many cows in the Pyrenees, from what we found, our campsite was actually surrounded by them, and you could hear the chimes of their cowbells. But we'd never actually seen one, so I actually managed to take a picture of a cow with its bell on up close, which I was really pleased, because we'd been hearing these chimes the entire trip, so seeing one was actually quite nice. But yeah, it's just the most spectacular views from Cirque de Gavarnie, so definitely check it out. And actually, similar to everything else that's pretty much on our list, the drive there is just as impressive as the actual attraction itself. So even though it might be far away from where you are, you're guaranteed a nice journey. And so finally, number 5 on our list, and it's actually one of the things we enjoyed the most, which was relaxing at one of the many lakes in the Pyrenees. One of our favourite was Lake de Estaing, which was slightly further up the valley from the campsite we were staying at, and I think it was about a 10-minute drive from where we were. And we went there in several days. We parked the car, got out our camping chairs, sat and just admired the lake. We were there on a day that it was drizzly and rainy, and the clouds was right down to the level of the tops of the mountains that surrounded it. And you know, even though it wasn't great weather, it was still the most incredible atmosphere of being up in the mountains and being up in the hills. And similarly, it was just as incredible when the sun was shining and you had the most spectacular views. So just take some time to enjoy one of the many lakes if you're going. And actually, even on our last day, we checked out of the campsite and we towed all the way up there because we thought, you know, we just got to take in that view once more. And it was, yeah, I wish we could go back, and I hope one day we will. So that was our top 5 things not to miss if you're visiting the French Pyrenees in your caravan or motorhome, or in a tent or a hotel or whatever. We hope it's giving you something to think about. If you're going there, then maybe you'd like to add a few things to your list. If you're never going to go there, then I hope it's just shone a light on a part of the world you might not get to visit. And if we've missed any, we definitely would have missed some amazing places. So please let us know in the comments for this video, and you know, and then everyone can read them and find out some more information about the Pyrenees themselves. So as always, thanks for sticking with us. It has been a little while since we put any videos out. We hope to do more in the future. It's just we're really struggling to find the time at the moment, but we are so encouraged by your kind words and comments, so please keep them coming, and hopefully we'll get a little bit more out for you in the future. Thanks very much for watching Adventure Wheels, and we will see you in the next one.